How you doing, Jimmy? Fresh from Boston with a big appearance last night. Yesterday afternoon, Jimmie Johnson drives the number 48 Lowe's Dover White Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. He's leading the points. He's got 3 wins, last I counted, this season. Jimmie, just talk about, your mindset. We've got, this is 10 races now to the chase. So it's the race to the chase is on, and that's really when you guys get laser focused, I know. But talk about this weekend here at Kentucky and the significance of now as you move forward and we start that 10-race stretch.
Yeah, it definitely is an important time of the year for everybody. I'd say, I haven't looked around 10th in how tight that is, but if you're on that, I would assume 8th to 14th bubble right there, it's getting really tense right now, and it will over these next 10 weeks. Life is pretty comfortable up where we are, and we can still squander away the position we're in and have trouble. But fortunately, I guess now I'm thinking through a little more with our 3 wins, we should be in great shape. So with all that in mind, we just need to focus on being strong, finishing up these next 10 races and entering the chase as competitive as we can. And certainly racetracks that we run on, such as Loudon here the next weekend or a couple weeks, whatever it is, we want to leave there knowing that we've had a good race because we obviously come back and race there in the chase. So it's an important 10 weeks for everybody. A little more pressure on some than others, but the real pressure will start come. Is it Chicago these days? Come in Chicago, and hopefully we'll be in contention at that point.
Okay, let's take questions now for Jimmie. If you have one, raise your hand. I believe we have a couple wireless mics in the audience. We'll start here with Kenny. And we'll go over to this gentleman here to the left. Identify yourself, affiliation, and if you can, one question per
Kenny Bruce with
time.
NASCAR.com. Jimmie, you guys will be going back to Daytona. You'll be going back to Pocono pretty soon. It's starting to hit some of the tracks that you've already hit once this year. Normally, there's not a great deal of difference when you go from one time to the other as far as changes in the competition. But with a new car, will there be more opportunities for guys to be better the second time around because they've only been there once with the car this year?
Daytona, I don't think so because the rules are so strict and there's very little area to grow and learn. Pocono for sure. I'm trying to think of another track that we repeat to. We certainly do later in the year, but Loudon's a good example, Dover, tracks like that. Yeah, absolutely. Every time we go to the track, the whole field's smarter. You just hope that, like for us going to Pocono, we just hope whatever they gain on us, we're able to extend for our own selfish reasons. But yeah, this garage area is smart. In 2 to 3 weeks' time, technology changes, and what you had a month ago doesn't work.
Let's go here to the gentleman to the left, and then we'll go to Jim Noble.
Ken Spencer, WHAS 11. Jimmie, even though this is only the 3rd race here for the Sprint Cup, when you go to a track that you haven't won at, does that, give you something to really shoot at? Because obviously you want to win every week, but when you go to a track that you've never won at, does that give you a little bit more juice for the weekend?
Yeah, it gets me excited. I mean, there's 5 tracks left that I haven't won at. I think Stewart's down to 2 or 3, and we don't talk about it amongst Stewart, Gordon, or myself, but I think we all secretly would love to be the first to win at every track that we compete at. And again, I think Stewart's the closest right now, and I want to get closer. I've been very close here. I've been very close at Michigan. I've been very close at Chicago. So I hope we can get 1 or 2 of them this year, and I'd love to start here.
Go ahead to Jim Noble.
Jim Noble, ESPN. 3 months into the season, you got 2.5 months till the chase. Can you see a light at the end of the tunnel? It's such a long season. How do you stay mentally focused during this stretch in the summer that, it kind of seems like it's never going to end sometimes?
It still feels like it's not going to end. There's no doubt about it. There's still a lot of racing left, and our last off weekend is in a few weeks, and then we have to grind it out for 20-something after that. But it goes in phases, and the situation we're in with a strong start to the season, we're in a comfortable position because of the wins and where we are in points. But at the same time, as we get closer to the start of the chase, we need to make sure we're peaking at the right time and that we didn't peak too early. So we have that pressure and motivation on our side. And then when the final 10 start, it's just brutal. You just Depending, you live week to week, and honestly, in some situations, you live day to day at the track and what kind of speed your car has, and that takes it to a whole new level. And then we have our short off season to recover and load up and do it again.
Let's go back in the back to Rich.
Thank you, Rich Van Wyk, WTHR Indianapolis. This year you're driving a car that looks more like the manufacturer car, the one that runs on the street. How's that resonating with fans? How's this new car resonating with sponsors who want a car that looks like their car?
Yeah, it's been very well accepted by the race teams, the drivers, the fans, the manufacturers. When you look at the first quarter of the year, especially starting at Daytona and the buzz around the new car and everybody seeing it in competition for the first time, it's been a great launch of the Gen 6 car. I know that all the manufacturers are very pleased with the styling of the car, the connection between showroom and racetrack, and hopefully it's a good sign of things to come in the future. The manufacturers are very important to our sport. They always have been. Due to officiating, things changed to the Gen 5 car, but now the focus has gone back to the manufacturers and their own brand identity for the Gen 6 car, and it's been really good.
Back in the back, and the gentleman in the royal blue there, or I should say Kentucky blue.
Jeff Woods, WBKO. Jimmie, last year you talked about before the race that you didn't like this place very much, then you went out and won the pole. 1 year later, how do you feel about it now?
Well, since I've been here, since I've been here to compete in a Cup car, I've really liked the track. I think I qualified in the top 5 for the first one and ran well. And last year qualified on pole and was very competitive in the race. And where the dislike came from was through my nationwide days, tore up a few cars here, and then prior to my Cup start with Hendrick, this track was we were able to test here, and there were teams here every week working away, and I piled a bunch of them into the wall over there in 3 and 4. So coming back, I was a little concerned about that, but things have been very good since I've been here in competition in a Cup car.
Let's go back to the gentleman from
HAS 11.
HAS. Okay, sorry about that.
Justin Allgaier said about a week and a half ago he thinks here that turn 3 is one of the more critical turns to get down. You just mentioned that when you were testing, you piled some cars in that corner. What is it about that turn? Do you feel like that is a key part of this racetrack?
Yeah, I do. For me, when we were testing here, the entry is so flat and you really don't pick up the banking until almost the physical center of the corner that I would lose the back of my car on corner entry and would spin out and smack the fence. Now it's changed quite a bit. The track is so rough, starting with the very end of the straightaway before you turn off the wall into the corner, there's a pretty big, it's almost like you hit a curb. I mean, it's inside the car, it's big, it's a forceful impact. And it just limits your speed into the corner, and then shortly after that, you get into a series of bumps that challenge us. And I think in that is where my fondness for the track has come around. When it was smooth and easy to get through there, I just bust my butt over there and make a mistake. But now you've got to slow down, deal with the bumps. Your car setup's very important. Your line selection's very important. And you can move around 2 to 3 feet through the entry to center of the corner over there and find like little valleys and miss the bumps and improve your lap time dramatically. So, that aspect of it makes it really fun for the drivers because you have some options and you just don't chase the white line around the track.
Let's go to Lee right here.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. You're in such a dominant position right now. You don't have to worry about things. But where, are people in the chase zone, in the race to the chase now with 10 to go, where do guys start to have to worry about what they need to do to jump over and lock themselves in come July or come September?
Honestly, we're all worrying. I mean, even in the dominant position we're in, and we look back at the last 3 or 4 races and see missed opportunity, and we know that we've left some bonus points on the table, plus points in general if we were in the chase, and you can't win a championship that way with Dover or Michigan. Sonoma turned out okay, but you can't make those mistakes. So although it looks like we're just cruising along and smiling, we have a lot of pressure on ourselves to perform at the level we need to. But the other teams in that bubble area, you'll see a lot of testing or hear about a lot of testing. Teams have been very smart about reserving test sessions. And as we get closer to the chase, I think you'll see a lot of teams in that, whatever it is, 8 to 14th, 8 to 12th range, using those test sessions to make sure they have good finishes and collect a lot of points.
Do you guys have a short schedule at this point? What your game plan looks like as far as testing goes?
No, fortunately, we're still, last I heard, we're still sitting on them and hopeful to use them on all chase tracks. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, Jeff is obviously in a tough position, and we need to make sure we get him in the chase. But right now, we haven't really picked any tracks yet.
Go to Mark Story.
Jimmie, I'm Mark Story from the Lexington Herald-Leader. Obviously, Danica's results so far this year, I mean, it's been a tough transition, and you look at Hornish and Franchitti. Why is that transition so difficult? And if you tried it in reverse and tried to go to IndyCar at this point in your career, would it be different?
When I look at the vehicles, the way you make them handle, the downforce numbers, the mechanical grip. If you look and compare downforce versus vehicle, mechanical grip, a Cup car has a lot of mechanical grip, very little downforce, just the opposite for an Indy car. I know when I go race a Grand Am car, the way you use the brakes in a braking zone is totally different than how you do the same thing in a Cup car on the same track at Watkins Glen. So granted they have four wheels, but they are very, very different. One other element that's involved in all of this, and I think it's something that's always worked in my favor, is I'm used to running side by side with people in racing. And I'm a far better racer than I am somebody that qualifies or post-practice speeds. And I don't, the IndyCar guys and girls don't have a lot of side-by-side racing. They do kind of now on the mile-and-a-half ovals they run on, but it's like a plate track running wide open. It's not the competitive passing and racing and fighting for position like you see in NASCAR. And it takes a while to figure it out. Even with my background, I can remember my first 3 races in ASA that I ran. I would catch a car and be stuck behind it and couldn't pass it. And I remember being on the radio upset that I didn't know how to pass the car. And it just took time to figure out how to do that. So when I summarize it all, it's really, they're different cars. And then the racing that takes place on the track, the door-to-door racing, and where you position your car to keep the air on it so you don't make a mistake, how you can affect others around you to get the position. That's just something that takes laps. And when I have a lot of friends that race in other series that want to come NASCAR racing, I tell them all, you need a 5-year plan before you have high expectations. You need to go out there and hit walls. You need to make mistakes. You need to make people mad. That's what you do. I mean, you have to go out there and learn and learn through experience. So in time, we see Sam's really off to a great year and nationwide winning races and leading championship at times. So I think he's proof that you just need time. He's a great driver. Just needs to figure it all out in this style of car. Just to finish up my long story, I think that I'd be very interested to watch a closed-body driver go to an open-wheel vehicle. Guys that I've talked to that have come our direction, like Dario, it's just, and even Juan, when you take the downforce off the car, it's your eyes are calibrated for a certain speed, and it's tough for them to come our direction. I'm very curious, too, what it's like to go from a car that doesn't stick in the corner all that well to something that has a lot of grip. Would the transition be easier going from our car to theirs? I have the same question. I don't know the answer. But I do know, when you're going to race for a win, you're not just going to show up in your first year and race for a win. But theoretically, there's an argument that going from low downforce to high downforce is an easier transition than the other way.
Jimmie, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. Good luck this weekend.
Yep.